Hi, I'm Eric Schumacher Rasmussen, editor of Streaming Media Magazine, here at NAB 2015 with Braxton Jarratt, who is the CEO of Clearleap. Hey, Braxton.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, thanks for joining us. Clearleap is a company that helps video publishers and entertainment content owners with their multi-screen solutions. Current clients include A&E Networks, HBO, and Scripps, among others. And speaking of HBO, 2015 really seems to be the year of direct-to-consumer offerings, right?
Absolutely.
With HBO Now, HBO Go, Sling TV. How does Clearleap fit into that equation? How is Clearleap helping publishers with their direct-to-consumer offerings?
Well, we started about 6 years ago with the hope that all this would happen. We see today on the floor where direct-to-consumer and even TV authenticated services become really mainstream. And so we started building core software that made it really easy to take your content in whatever form you have it, usually some high resolution mezzanine type file, and then do all the things that you have to do really quickly, efficiently, use internet technologies, the cloud, in order to make all that content available to publish online. And then we built the systems that enable content owners and brands to essentially manage a really highly scalable service direct to the consumer that allows them to pay directly with a credit card, do authenticated services, or have a free-to-air service. Because frankly, that's there's going to be a combination of all those things going forward with all the different business models that we're seeing.
Right, and speaking of the other business models, there's been so much written about cord cutters and cord nevers.
Right.
What impact are services like HBO Now and Sling TV going to have on the cable companies and the pay TV companies from your perspective?
Well, that's the $1 million question,
right.
$1 billion question probably. That's what everybody's talking about now. I think is the looking really hard at the idea, the premise with HBO Now being that they're going after that market segment that wouldn't otherwise subscribe to cable. That's kind of how they're positioning it to their partners. But I think everybody knows there's some segment of the population that would be the tipping point that says, you know what, I am ready to cut the cord because of that. So I think there's no debate whether it's going to have an effect. It's just how big is that effect going to be, and does the benefit to the programmer outweigh the risk of alienating that operator. But I think it's already happening. It's going to happen. If you look worldwide, especially, there's these kinds of services they're everywhere, ubiquitous. And so I think that's our future is a combination of DirecTV plus coexisting with the existing business models.
Yeah, now, if HBO Now was always looked at as one of those tipping points that might convince people, okay, I can get rid of my pay TV subscription, the other one has to be sports, particularly live sports, right? It's conventional wisdom that once there's a critical mass of live sports available over these kinds of services, that could really be, if not a death knell for cable, that could put a serious dent in subscribers.
Right.
Do you see more and more live sports coming to these kinds of direct-to-consumer services?
Absolutely. We've seen examples with NFL Mobile doing direct-to-consumer on the mobile device where they carved out specific rights to be able to do that while still selling the multi-billion-dollar, multi-decade rights to DirecTV and the networks for the big games. So I think what we'll see is more and more of the biggest brands who really need the cable pay TV dollars in order to pay the players and pay the rights that they pay downstream, but they're going to carve out the ability to say be on mobile direct-to-consumer or be on connected TVs direct-to-consumer and monetize those things separately, kind of the same way entertainment companies have content licensing windows based on time. So I think that's what's going to happen for the big brands. I think the smaller brands, they're already going direct. OTT Tennis Channel is an example of one that is a smaller niche but very passionate fan base, and they have a pay OTT service. I think we're going to see a lot of those happen because they don't have the same sort of long deals and the need to have a multi-billion-dollar licensing deal. Right.
Now you mentioned earlier about the availability of these kinds of services internationally, and clearly it's an international company. Are there other markets, I can think of one or two, that are ahead of the U.S. on the availability and the uptake of these kinds of services? What are they, and what are you seeing internationally?
It's funny that almost every other country is ahead of the U.S., which most people don't know here. the pay TV penetration in the U.S. is the highest of pretty much anywhere in the world, and I think that's what's kept the programmers from going direct to consumer, because A, there's leverage that the operators have, but B, there's a smaller addressable market if 80% of the population is pay TV. But if you look at the Nordic region, for instance, where HBO has gone direct to consumer over a year ago, the pay TV penetration is 50% or less, and so that addressable market for OTT is huge as a percentage of the total population. And so if you're a content owner, you have to do OTT. You just otherwise you're missing out on a giant spectrum of consumers. So I think Nordic is probably one of the most advanced. Some of the Asian markets where there's a high GDP, high broadband penetration, and relatively low pay TV penetration, you're seeing OTT 1 or 2 years ahead of where we are in the U.S. And what I find interesting is they're coexisting with the existing business models. They are doing authentication, they are doing TVE, authenticated TVE, but they're going direct to consumer, and everybody seems to be okay with that.
Right, exactly. Well, thanks so much, Braxton. I've been speaking with Braxton Jarratt from Clearleap. I'm Eric Schumacher Rasmussen, signing off from NAB 2015.
Thank you.